Hello. Thanks for joining me. My name is Eric CJ. I made this sheet with all the data that we're trying to gather on children and all the things we're trying to figure out how well they're learning. Sometimes that data can feel a little overwhelming, so I wanted to make a sheet and make something that you could use to analyze whether kids are mastering things, see where you might need to spend a little bit more time in class, and that sort of thing, just to try and help you as a teacher live a better life and just be more able to go through data, be able to analyze and investigate this data that we are being asked to try and go through. All right, so for this video, I'm going to take a look at the spreadsheet I've designed, tell you how to find it, tell you how to get to it, how to use it, how you can apply it to other things that maybe aren't math and aren't necessarily set up exactly like our math stuff is. And then how can you use this to make your life easier? That's the most important thing. I want to use this to make your life easier. And then what can you do if you break something? So let's start going through some stuff. In order to find the sheet that we're going to be talking about, right down in the description, I put a link to a Google Sheets template. Just go ahead and hit that link, make a copy. And if you want to do that before going through the rest of the video, so that way you can sort of follow along and click along with all the buttons, sometimes that helps. So yeah, go ahead and pause the video and give yourself a chance to do that. And then when you come back, go ahead and hit the play button and we will go through all the things. All right. Another way you can get this sheet is just shoot me an email and I will happily send you a link in your email to get this sheet and reacquire this sheet for every single time you might need to redo and re-go through some things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this spreadsheet. All right. So there we go. Did it. Figured it out. The buttons. So in this spreadsheet, I've opened up to a demo sheet that has already been sort of partially filled in, so you can see what it will look like when it has been used. And if we take a look, I have just sort of generic student names, but that might be one of the first things that you want to figure out once you have opened up your brand new sheet. In this tab that says Student PowerSchool Grades, these are all of the different assignments on each of the other tabs, which we'll go through here in a second. But this sort of collects all that data so that you can copy this and paste this into PowerSchool if that is something that is interesting to you. But it's also really nice that it's sort of one-stop shopping. But we'll talk about all that later. So when you originally get this sheet, a lot of these, pretty much there will be no names in these blanks for these students, and you'll see stuff happen. But you can just export your student roster, export your rosters from the whatever chapter, whatever unit, or whatever class you have. Just go ahead and export that roster into an Excel sheet or however you decide to export, or you could even type the names in one by one into these columns. And then once you have all those names in, whoopsie daisies, that's not what I wanted. Once you have all those names in the columns, all these will populate. And then actually let's back up. Oopsie, redo. Go back to here, please. Thank you. So if we take all these student names, these will populate, delete. Not the entire row, silly. Cut those out. There we go. These will automatically populate to all the other sheets that are in this little book, this little workbook. So if you paste, sweet. So there's that. But once you have all of your students' names in there, they will automatically populate to each of the other sheets and in the same order. So that way everything gets pulled back to here for one-stop shopping. Sorry, that took a little longer than I anticipated. So if when you first hop into one of these, the chapter, you're just going to put that chapter number here. For us in math, we generally go up to 12. We have 12 units, so 12 is our biggest number here. But if we're on chapter 4, we could just put a chapter 4 in that top section there, and it should update all of the other mastery checks, mastery check in each of these spaces, and also in each of these tabs, it will update those to be chapter 4 as well. However, unfortunately, it doesn't change the names of the tabs along the bottom, so that might be something that you'll have to do on your own. Super easy, just double click on the name and then just change that number to Mastery Check 4. Okay, so that's how you can put your chapters in there. In each of the lessons, so moving into the Lessons tab, if you don't necessarily start with 0, in our Unit 12, we ended up with discovering that there needed to be some preview stuff to what our textbook and what our text ended up going through. In that case, let's say we are in, again, let's say we're in Unit 4. So I'll change that to be Unit 4, which will then change all of my tabs underneath the Mastery Check stuff to each of the to be Unit 4. And then if we don't need that sort of preview unit or that pre-unit, I can just change this to be a 1, and then it'll update that, and then all the other tabs will update based on whatever that first one is. It'll just add one to it, add one to each section. So if you need to like skip a unit or whatever, you can always just change this to be like, let's say you have 5 lessons and you need this to be lesson 5. You're skipping lesson 4 for whatever reason, just change that to a 5 and you're good to go. So just because my little lizard brain will freak out if I don't have that 4 there, or if I will freak out if I try to skip a lesson, we'll just hold off there. Also, I'm going to pause here real quick and I'm going to change all these tabs because, again, my little lizard brain is going to freak out if they don't all match up. So be right back. We're back. I've cleaned everything up. So now we're going to pretend we're in a Unit 4, and then there are 5 lessons in this unit. We can always add more. We can always continue to add columns, essentially just by copying one of these tabs. If you have some questions about how to do that, please feel free to reach out. Happy to help with whatever I can. So if we dive into the individual lesson or the individual lesson tabs, we can modify those lessons. We can change lesson names, all that sort of stuff by moving through the bottom here. I like to just keep it numbers. Makes everything a lot cleaner and a lot easier to track down who's missing whatever. But you can always modify these lesson names, and same thing up here. You can change those lesson names from 4 point whatever to actually whatever your title of the lesson is. But the important part underneath these lesson names is these guys, these point values for each of these skills. We can continue to add skills. So like in this lesson, there were 3 skills, and when I did when I did a mastery check, each of those skills I valued at 4 points. If we go into the second lesson, this one only had 2 skills, and so those 2 skills had 3 and 4 points total in the grade book. And then this little cell right here, this guy, will automatically pull and add the values for each of those sections. So like it'll add up the points possible that the kids could have gotten for each of those quizzes. So for each of those mastery checks. So this section had 3 skills for a total of 8 points. And then this section had 3 skills for a total of 7 points. So let's make up a mastery check. Let's say this first skill had 2 points, this second skill had 3 points, this third skill had 4 points, and let's say that our last skill had 2 points as well. So that totals up for a total of 11 points that could go into the gradebook altogether. So then, when you're inputting student scores, you're going to start with their so for student 1, you would start with the student's scores for the number of points out of 2 that they got. Let's say the student got 1 point, and then let's say the student got 2 points here, 1 point on 4.5, and then, or 4.5C, and then on the 4th skill, they ended up with all the points. Okay, so when you input those student scores, they will automatically add up, and that student will get a score of 6 for that particular mastery check. It's highlighted red because that means that they failed. They did not get to that 62% that is our bottom for a D. And you'll notice also when in each of these sections, they didn't get all the points that they could have. So if they wanted to end up retaking something, say they retook it, so in mastery check 2, I don't necessarily want to give them any fewer points than the 2 they earned, because if they got all the points for a section, I want to make sure that they keep all those points. So I just had the sheet set up to automatically X out any sections that they got full points for already. So let's say on the retake, they figured out how to get how to do this first skill, so they ended up getting 2 points. Keep an eye on this gradebook points. It'll go from 6. Now it is a 7. They got those 2 points for that section, but I don't want to give them 2 total points because now it's just they got 2 points for that section, 2 points for the B section, 1 point for the C section, and then 2 points for the last section. So then let's say that they improved up to 3 points in that C section, and then let's say in the B section, so now they functionally have full credit for that for that A skill, full credit for the D skill, and then they have 3 out of 4 points for the B skill, and they have 2 out of 3 points for the B skill, and then 3 out of 4 points for the C skill. Sorry, 2 out of 3 points for the B skill. Let's say on their second mastery check something happened and they didn't do as well, so they ended up getting 0 points on that B skill. They just ended up completely tanking. I also don't want to take away if they got some points out of those, so I set the sheet up to only take their highest score from each of those categories. And so now we take a look at the Mastery Check 3. If they wanted to try again, really all they need to do is work in that B and C category. But as you saw their grade go up, this color shifted from red to yellow to green, from F to C to A. So if they're in this sort of like light greenish yellowish area, then they're in that sort of high B, low C, or excuse me, high C, low B range, right? So we could put in a whole bunch of student grades and end up with something that looks like, let's say it looks like this, okay? We have a whole bunch of grades, looks like this, and if the student was not here, they didn't take whatever, all that sort of stuff, then their grades will remain blank. And so here's where this sheet is hopefully going to make your life a lot easier, right? If you hit back over to the Student Power School grades, it is one place you can look at every single mastery check, every single skills, the sort of total of those skills, and say, okay, I need to learn, or the kids did pretty well on this section 4.1, all right? A couple kids still struggle. Those are kids that I'll want to target and pull out maybe for interventions or something like that. And then any kids who completely missed that mastery check are highlighted with this like really aggressive purpley pinkish color. So I know I need to get this in front of those kids so that way they can, replace A0, fill in that blank. And then if you're looking at this 4.2 and 4.3 area, I'm seeing a lot of reds, a lot of kids not doing so hot. So this tells me as a teacher, I need to go back and I need to review some stuff. So if I hop back over to 4.2, I can take a look and say, okay, well, in this Mastery Check 2 area, or Mastery Check 3 area, there's only 2 skills. So let's see how many of these skills kids got completely. So I'm going to go over to this Mastery Check 3 area. So how many kids know how to do this skill? Well, out of the 47 kids, I can count and say that only 11 kids completely got full credit for that skill. And then out of 47 kids, I can take a look and say, okay, only 7 kids completely got this skill. So that's a thing I need to look at and address as a teacher. Maybe I need to go back over, maybe we need to do some bell ringers, maybe we need to do some stuff to reinforce these skills or have kids figure these skills out for what looks like might be the first time, because very, very few kids did really well on it. Same thing over in 4.3. If I go over to Mastery Check 3, well, this first skill over here is 17 out of 47, still not great, but it's better than 7. So maybe I won't put a ton of emphasis on this one. Maybe it was just a tricky question or something like that. But you can look at these columns of skills and say, these are the things that I as a teacher need to do in order to make sure that my kids are understanding all the things that I want them to understand. Okay. So the final way that this hopefully makes life a little bit easier is this color gradient. It's really, really nice to be able to say, okay, if I look at just a kid, something happened to this kid after that first lesson. They really fell off really hard. Whereas, well, this one, maybe there's just a little something going on. Maybe something happened with this particular lesson. Maybe they didn't study as hard, or maybe they were absent for a day or two. gives you a really, really nice snapshot of how your students are doing in a very, very sort of stoplight friendly kind of way, right? Green is good, green's good, everything's all go. Red is maybe we need to stop, pump the brakes, and help this kid with some interventions, right? So if you break something, like if something doesn't go according to plan, or something ends up not doing what it's supposed to, you're always able to hit this open version in history and rewind to an earlier version. So like if I wanted to rewind to the version before I started changing things while we were talking today, I could do that. Or if I wanted to, I can look at every single time it saves, and I could change that. Like all those things I put in for that one student, I could back up and take those out. So I could rewind to before this video even started and just hit restore this particular version. Yes, please restore it. Thank you. Thank you, Google. And so now everything is back to chapter 12. The kids' names have disappeared, all that sort of stuff. It's back to what I wanted it to be. So you can always restore those earlier versions and back up to before whatever happened to break ended up breaking. Another way, you can always just go back and grab the template from the comments, from the description section, or from the description of this video, or shoot me an email. I'll come over, take a look. We can repair things together, or you can even just share your sheet with me, and I can maybe figure out what is causing the issue, what is causing the problem. So, yeah, I want this to try and make data more accessible for you guys, for folks, because I know it can feel super, super overwhelming to try and wrap your head around all this data that we're being asked to gather, and actually make it something useful. We can gather data for days, but actually making it something useful that can actually impact your lesson, impact what you do on a daily basis, that's the goal. That's what we want to try and make happen. As teachers, we want to do the best that we can. So thanks so much for watching. Please feel free to email me with any questions you might have, or post them down in the comments. Happy to help with whatever I can. Have an amazing day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.